Hello, we're back with another Day With video. This time, doing the Tom Ford house. This is going to be one of his warm weather scents. Actually, the one I think is the best from the entire line. And that is Black Violet. Now, the reason I'm doing this now, two reasons actually. Number one, I'm opening a split of this right now. So if you want some, let me know and you can get right in. The second reason is that when I was watching Mark's top 20 niche for summer, or for spring rather, he commented that when he was doing Neroli Portofino that Tom Ford really doesn't do well with warm weather scents. And for the most part, he's right. But I think this is the exception to that. I do like Neroli Portofino. I think it's quality, but not the best. But to my knowledge, I don't believe Mark has tried this. And I wanted to bring some more light to this because I think it is the best from his line of his warm weather scents. It goes against the grain of most of the spring and summer scents that you see out there. A lot of them are the generic citruses, the watery stuff, things you've heard of and seen a lot. This really, even though it does share some of those characteristics, I think it goes against the grain, specifically with the violet, with the mossy feel to it. Not something you see a lot in spring and summer juice. So, tomorrow we're doing this. I do have some experience with this, so this is not completely blind, but this is one of the first times I'm wearing it this year, so it's been a while. So do expect pretty decent longevity out of it. From what I remember, this is pretty good, about 6 to 8 hours. Projection's not great, but it's not really what I'm looking for out of this. This is more of a daytime scent. Can be used at night, but it's not something I would use for going out or anything like that. I wouldn't wear it out to a lounge or a club or a date. It's more casual. So I will be wearing this to work. The weather here tomorrow is supposed to be low to mid 70s, so it should be good weather for this. Not overbearingly hot, but still a warm day. So I'll be back in the morning with this, and we'll get this together. All right, see you then.
All right, time to put it on. I've already put one on my chest, so let's go ahead and do the rest. I'm gonna do 1, 2 on the neck, 1 on the wrist, or arm. And 1, 2. Yeah, let's stick with 4 for today. It's in the office. I don't want to make it too overpowering. Right off the bat, you get a very nice mixture of bergamot as well as a pulpy citrus. It's not a typical kind of citrus, but it's nice. A little bit of moss thrown in there too, so it's a little unusual. There's definitely a black element to this, so we'll see how it goes from here.
Alright, so I just applied this, and similar to my reaction after the application, this is mostly right now a mixture of the freshness of the bergamot, the bit of a citrus that's in there. I have to double check the notes. I forgot exactly what it is. It's more along the lines of like a... Oh, that's a huge truck. More along the lines of like a pulpy orange. Certainly not a lime or a lemon or a more acidic kind of citrus. But the violet is also starting to come out right now. Top notes usually don't last on me terribly long, so I'm not surprised by that. The violet dries it down, and also, believe it or not, adds a bit of masculinity to it. So, well, the top sometimes can come off a little bit overwhelmingly feminine. This helps dry it down, so check back later. Every time I do one of these, I make a point to not get hit by cars when I walk across the street, but also in the
morning when I go to work, right after I put it on, I'll get on the train and try and sit between two people fairly close by, just to see if there's a reaction out of them. And I did that this morning, and as expected, there wasn't. They were pretty subdued. I think one of the great things about Black Violet is that it does a very good job of straddling the line between inoffensive but also interesting and not boring. It's a lot of times the problem you run into with these warm weather juices is while they're inoffensive and they're very easy to wear, they're very, uninspiring. They're nothing new. And they get very redundant. I don't think that's the case here at all. Right now, the initial blast of freshness is worn off, and it's dried down into a much drier feel than it was. The fruitiness is still there a little bit, the citrus, but it's not like somebody squeezed an orange all over you. It's more like, I don't want to say like they took the orange zest and put it on you, but it is more of an orange zest feel than the juice aspect of it. So far going strong, and it is a little bit cooler out than I was expecting, so projection certainly isn't there while I'm outside, but still noticeable. We're about close to 2 hours in, and we'll check back later.
Alright, we are back in the infamous work bathroom. What video, a day with video, would be complete without a trip here. So now we're about 4-5 hours into this now, and we're really solidly into the base notes here. And what I think is the best part of this juice, and what really makes it stand out from the rest of Tom Ford's warm weather juices. Now we're into the oak moss. It's coming through a little bit. It's not very thick, it's not heavy, it's not overly green. I know a lot of people don't like lavender palm because it does have that odd green texture to it that combines with the lavender. That's not what you get here. You still get a bit of the freshness from the top mixed with the orange zest, kind of a pulpy orange zest, and now it's mixed in with the violet and the oak moss. And really does a great job of both being kind of a dark fragrance but also a light fragrance at the same time. That's why I think the name Black Violet can throw you off a little bit, because it can make you think that it's this very dark, sort of like Black Orchid. It's not like Black Orchid at all. Very, very loosely related to each other. So if you don't like that, don't put Black Violet off because the names are similar. This is not... I wouldn't classify this as like a dark floral. Not at all. It does have some dark textures to it, some dark features, but the freshness and the orange zest really keep it subdued so that it doesn't venture off into some parts unknown. So I think now that... The one thing I will say, I did under-apply this. Especially for a day like this, it's a little bit cooler than the weather report had said. It's in the 60s, low 60s. So the 4 sprays that I put on this morning, one of which I missed on, most of it went to the side, a little bit too low. So I would say, if you're going to wear this on a bit of a cooler day, don't be afraid to over-apply. This one's not a beast. It's not going to jump off your skin. It's not going to overpower anyone. It's not cloying. Another differentiator with Black Orchid, which is very strong. This is not. If you put on 5-6 sprays of Black Orchid, you could suffocate someone. You're not going to do that here. So I would, if I were to wear this again, I would put on a little bit more, unless it was a very hot day. Even in my office, which is air conditioned, I don't have any problem with wearing a little bit extra of this. So We're at about, I say 4 or 5 hours now. We'll check back in a little bit later, see how this goes longevity-wise. Did under-apply it, so we'll have to take that into consideration, but we'll see where it goes from here. All right? See ya.
All right, we're back. It's about 7 to 8 hours in right now since I initially put this on. And now the first thing is, I didn't pick the greatest day to do this. As you can see, I'm wearing shorts, t-shirt, flip-flops. I'm pretty cold out here. So this is really not the best day to test this out. Right now it's pretty faint, especially that combined with underspraying it and applying it incorrectly. Doesn't make the best representation of it, but it's good enough. While it is on the faint side, it is still there. It's definitely not gone. I would think if the weather was maybe, a good 15 degrees warmer, this would be doing just fine right now. So, not really. I would definitely not classify this as a longevity issue. So I wouldn't be turned off by that. And as those of you who are familiar with my channel, I am very anal about longevity issues. So, let's see, what else is there? Well, masculinity. This is pretty much down the line unisex. When you first spray it on, it might come off as a little feminine because of the blast of freshness from the bergamot as well as the pulpy citrus smell. But once it dies down into the base notes, the oak moss comes out, the violet really becomes very unisex. So no problems there if that's something that turns you off. Right now, this pretty much, once, at least for me, after a few hours, it gets pretty linear with the violet oak moss orange zest combination, and it really did a nice job of putting together three things that aren't terribly commonly associated with each other and making a warm weather juice out of it. So that is that. I will be back with some final thoughts on this at the end of the day. We'll go from there. See you. All right, final impressions time. It is the end of the day. I just left work and about 9 hours in. Oops, sorry, son. About 9 hours in since I applied it this morning. Maybe a little bit more than that. It did turn out to not be the best day to do this because of the colder weather, but I still was able to get a very good interpretation of this. It is fairly faint right now, though if I let my hand go like that, I can still smell it pretty well, which leads me to believe that any longevity issues from today are more tied to the weather that I was in as opposed to the actual strength of the juice. So, not as concerned about that. And in previous uses of this did give me a good solid 6 to 8 hours of projection where I didn't need to do that, what I just did, or to bury my nose in my arm or something like that. So for summer juice, that's pretty good. And even sometimes beyond that, there have been times where it's gone up to 10 hours. Still pretty faint by that point, but nonetheless still there. A couple of things about this that I was thinking about during the day. Number one, don't be confused by the name. As I said before, a lot of times you hear violet in something that's on the more masculine side. Some of the other fragrances that pop into mind are things like Fahrenheit, something like a gray flannel, both of which have very prominent violet. This is nowhere near that. They're not even in the same hemisphere. So if that's the kind of thought you're having, no. And this is not like a citrus version of Fahrenheit or a aqua Fahrenheit kind of thing. Nowhere near that. They are not alike in any way. Another thing, black violet, black orchid. Again, not similar. I mean, they're more similar than a Black Violet and Fahrenheit or Gray Flannel, but still not similar in any way. So if those are your views or your thoughts on this fragrance, having not smelled it, they're wrong, to put it bluntly. This can be a great summertime, very versatile fragrance. You can wear this in many instances. You can wear it to work. You can wear it if you go out in the evening to something casual. You can spray it liberally and not really have to worry about it being too overly cloying, overpowering, anything like that, which really sets it apart in a lot of ways from other summer juice, with that combined with the fact that it is very unique. There's no wateriness here, there's no aquatic, there's no generic fruit kind of thing here. The fact that the citrus is more of a zestiness, the orange zest, as opposed to just as if somebody squeezed an orange over you or squeezed a lime over you or anything like that. I think that's what really sets this apart. So I would highly encourage you to try this out. Like I said, I am opening a split of this, so if you want to get in, the smallest sizes that I probably will be doing for this are 10 milliliters, just because these Tom Ford bottles are big, harder to fill up. I will have a separate video on that, but I would very much encourage you to try this if you don't like Tom Ford's warm weather juices, if you don't like lavender palm, if you don't like azure lime, which you shouldn't because it's crap, if you don't like Neroli Portofino, maybe. This is not in the same vein as that. This is a different kind of warm weather scent. It straddles the line of being both dark and light at the same time, so to speak. And I would really encourage you to give it a shot. So, that being said, if you'd like to get in on the split early, let me know. If you have any questions about it, I know it's not a very hyped up fragrance. I know it's not one that a lot of people have talked about. I don't think there's any reviews online about it. Maybe a couple of first impressions. But I would be happy to answer any questions you have about it or any further inquiries you may have. So that is that. Also, a side note, not related to Black Violet, but there are new Tom Fords coming out soon. I have done a little bit of homework and found out some names that I think might be of the new ones. Cafe Rose, Absolute Black. There's another one called, it's French for Shadow of Hyacinth. I don't know, I'm not pronouncing that right. It's some type of flower. They sound very good, to say the least. Tom Ford does do the dark fragrances the best. That's what he's known for. And those names do lend themselves to being very dark. So hopefully those come good. So that is that. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll talk to you soon.